Good evening and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting on August the 19th, 2025. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. And we welcome other First Nations people to our meeting, both online as well as present in the room. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe, and especially those in Ukraine and the Middle East. We seek guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in, or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. Just some final reminders about making your questions clear and succinct and waiting until you speak according to the cue on my screen. Remember, please to turn your microphone off when you finish talking and show respect for the speaker by listening to what is being said and not talking whilst they're presenting. And also remind you of our behaviour standards with regard to manner during the debate. We begin with absences. We've had an apology from Councillor Hubel. Declaration of interest, I'll call that up when we get closer to the items. Confirmation of minutes, I just need someone to move accordingly. Councillor Jennings, you're moving, seconded by Councillor Henschke. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. We've also got to do confirmation of minutes of the special council meeting of the 23rd of June, adjourned to the 15th of July. I seek a mover for that as well. Thank you, Councillor Hallett, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. All right, now we move to the presentation. No public questions tonight, no adjourned business. We have a presentation and a deputation. Our presentation comes from East Waste, our very important subsidiary, and I'd like to welcome first of all Mr. Leonard Leyland, who is a brand new CEO of East Waste, along with the chair of the board, Fraser Bell, to come to the microphone. Thank you very much for their presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having us here tonight. It's great to have a chance to speak with you. What we'd like to run through tonight, if we could just go to the next slide, please, is essentially a little bit of an overview about East Waste in case you're not familiar. We will keep it short, but run through that. A little bit about our leadership and the governance. We'll do a little bit on me, just so you know who I am, given that I'm 3 weeks in the role. And we will look at some of the Burnside specific information and data, which is quite interesting. Thanks, Fraser. Then we have questions at the end, and what we would ask there, please, is anything that relates to the past. Fraser, our chairman of the board, is available to answer those questions. Things that relate to, I guess, what's happening at the moment and some of the things that we are working towards, we'll take based on what the question is and if I've had a chance to touch that or not. Thank you. All right, so essentially East Waste, it's run by the 8 councils listed on the board there, and essentially the model is built around the idea of delivering a common service across those 8 councils. We have an independent chair, which is Mr. Fraser Bell next to me, and a board and a audit and risk committee, and essentially we do all of the waste removal for each of those councils in terms of the red, green and yellow bins. Noting there are some exceptions, and there are some additional service lines that we offer as well, particularly around education. Thank you. So in terms of the vision, just to keep it sort of summarised, but the goal is to be the leader. And I was chatting with someone before the presentation started, and that's not just about one thing. It's not about cost. It's very much a reflection of the owners, and the owners are very clear that they, which are you, that they would like to see customer service, and they're very committed to the members and the community So a lot of the things that we do, as opposed to private industry, are driven by that level of customer service. And I'll probably get a chance to reference a couple of those examples as we speak as well. But that does become an important consideration when we do anything relating to cost. In terms of the operation, so you can see our size there. We have a depot facility down in Ottawa, and it's basically about 76 staff, the majority of which are drivers out on the road, a small administration team. We do run our own workshop, which is fantastic for quick repairs, getting out to site to assist if a truck's broken down, and saving money on things like servicing, because we can do those in-house. We do utilise other providers though, depending on the size of the task or the time frame that it will take, so we don't tie up the resources in our workshop. And then, as you can see there, the majority of our trucks are the side loaders, but we do also have the tipper and the litter bin and the front loader. Thank you. All right, so in terms of governance, as you can see the picture of Fraser there, we have the independent board, which is a representative from each of the 8 owners, the 8 councils, 7, and then Fraser as well on top. And Councillor Ted Jennings is on that board. In terms of the Audit and Risk Management Committee, they obviously are there to provide that other arm of governance, and we do a lot of work with them around any of the audit results. Work health and safety is a recent example as well. Thank you. In terms of the executive leadership team, you can see them there, and I'd just like to recognise as well the great work done by the team, not only over the past number of years, but particularly the last 6 months or so while they were going through the recruitment process. David, the chap next to me in terms of the photos, he led the team and did a fantastic job through that period. And then we've got, next along is Brian, who is a long-time member of the operations team and knows a lot about the waste industry in Adelaide and knows everything about the operations that we do in the trucks and the challenges they face. And then we have Kelly at the end, who looks after all of the finance and the HR. So a bit of a dual hat responsibility as a reflection of the small administration team that we run. Thank you. Really quickly about me, there's a photo that I just took the other week. I had my wife and 2 children come and visit and say hi. They loved it, and the team were very kind. They went out and operated one of the trucks and did the sidearm, and the kids now want a truck for Christmas. That might be a bit tricky. I don't think that'll get up past the board, but they did find it really exciting, and that's also something that I hear a lot from the drivers. I've tried to interact with them a lot and went out for a drive myself. I didn't drive, no risk to our insurance, but I did sit in the passenger seat and watch, and the interaction with the community and the children is really quite pleasing in terms of the way the drivers make that effort. So for me, I guess the main theme in summary, I've had a lot of different roles across a lot of different areas and in fact countries. The theme that I would speak to if anyone asked me what do I enjoy or what do, I enjoy leading teams in delivering services, regardless of what industry that is or what environment that is or what country that is. I like having teams, and I like having customers and people that we are trying to do good things for. One of the things I'm particularly excited about with this role is it's a very specific area of delivery. A lot of my roles have been rather broad. This is a very specific area with the waste industry, and I'm quite excited to learn more about a niche market as opposed to that sort of generalist. I've done a lot of that for a long time, and this is a great opportunity to really get into something very specific, which is fantastic. I think some of those roles, for different reasons, have all helped in sort of building my leadership style and approach, which I think blends quite well with East Waste and where they're heading. And we had a BDO audit, a review that went out and talked to customers, tried to understand what you were seeking from us. And some of those key themes, I think, reflect quite well against the way I like to operate. The main one, which I pulled out from running through it, was transparency. Everyone was extremely interested in greater transparency, greater reporting, which is fantastic because my view is the more you know about what we're doing, the more chance I've got of having a good conversation about what we need to do the next thing. So very, very keen to do that. Thank you. The Burnside. Look, you're doing really well with your opt-outs. So thank you. In fact, you're the market leader. You're sitting at 3% versus the next closest who is at 5%. So keep up the great work, please. Opt-outs are enormously impactful to our FOGO rollouts. And I think sometimes people, reasonably, if they're not from a logistics background, don't quite understand the impact opt-outs can have. And I was looking at a map of Campbelltown, and the challenge we have in Campbelltown is there's only about 100 bins that have opted out, give or take, of say 1,000, but they're spread through every street of the entire run on both sides of the street. So even though it's only 10% of the total run, the truck is still doing the exact same route and exact same kilometres. So I think one of the roles that I have in terms of speaking with people is to try and help share some of these complexities and logistical challenges, so when we're talking about your desires and what you'd like to do, I can sort of contextualise it with the operational delivery as well. Of course, we want to achieve the things you're seeking, but we can also talk about what that might take in terms of logistics and cost and trucks. The other thing that is going really well, we do 1.6 million lifts for Burnside in terms of actual arm movements up and down. And as you can see there, the highest number of calls we get are to do with missed bins, but they only equate to 0.22% of the lifts. So whilst it seems like a high volume of calls, I think it's 4,000, 3,600, when you put that against the 1.6 million lifts, it's a very good outcome, and I think it speaks to that customer service focus that I was talking about earlier. The next thing there, where you're also doing extremely well, thank you, is your diversion rate is the highest against the average is sitting at 56%, you're at 61%. I think the optimistic targets early on were about 75, so obviously we're a fair way off that at the moment. But if you look at the next point, I think there are some tremendous opportunities with the technology that we have and the data we've got. We are data rich, but one of our challenges is now how do we take that data and use it in a way that can inform you and drive where you go next in terms of education or marketing or working with your community or identifying problem areas. Cross-contamination, for example, is a main one that we can work on. I've just made a comment there about the RFID because you've been doing the RFID, which is great, but there are some other elements to it that could be tweaked to get more out of it, I think. Thank you. In terms of your metrics, I appreciate that's a little bit hard to read at this distance, but essentially you can see this is a dashboard that is available to you. As I understand it, this is a council-facing dashboard that you can utilise at any time. And if you would like guidance on how to access it or how to interpret it, if you would like more information, please just let me know, shoot me an email and we can do a session to help you run through it. But it gives you your key metrics. It gives you the volumes against each of the colours. It gives you your mattress and hard waste collections, which was your second highest call in terms of to our customer service. And it also gives you your positioning in that gauge in the top right, which is where you're sitting in terms of your diversion ratio or percentage. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes, you have a question.
I have a question. I'm so pleased that you're here.
Thank you.
And I'm just hoping this is going to be an annual presentation from you, because I think the previous time, I think it was 4 years ago. I haven't met Mr. Bell before, so is this what you intend to do with all the councils?
Well, I think one of the things that Fraser and I have chatted with, and Fraser's very keen to meet people and get more engaged, because we've got that board level, we've got the operational level, and then obviously we've got the teams. And I believe there's a Dr. Phil and Sarah who work very closely with our operations team quite effectively. And I've got an event on the 29th at the depot that we've invited some key people to. And obviously we shot an invite to you as well. Yes, more than happy to come and talk to people at any time. Don't have to wait annually. If you've got questions, meet up in this sort of forum or come out to the depot or answer questions via email. You were very clear that you want transparency, and more than happy to have those conversations and share what we're doing and what we're working on.
In terms of the past, the previous General Manager took the view that the dialogue between our members and him was approached differently to, I think, the way Leo's going to approach it. The feedback we had from the BDO review was the councils wanted to see more of me, so I will be turning up more often. The important thing, though, is that my primary function, I take the role that it's Leo's business, it's my board, so I'm board-centric, Leo's business-centric. So, and I think most of the issues that will concern you will be business-based, but there's no reason why you don't believe that you shouldn't have direct access to the board. Having said that, Ted's a very active board member, and I'd like to make sure that my relationship with you is primarily through my relationship with my board, but more than happy to turn up and answer any questions from that point of view. But yeah, we are going to try a different model moving forward.
Councillor Henschke.
Good evening. Very nice to meet you both, and Leo. I'm a councillor in the Rose Park Turret Gardens ward. It's an old ward, old streets, small, narrow streets. Some streets are really wide. But just your reflections on your vehicles. We've got people walking, kids walking to school, cycling routes. You know, we're trying to stop cut-through traffic, all that sort of thing. So your trucks are very important in terms of safety, with cameras, so that, you know, that if someone comes close, the vehicle can stop. Can you talk about these new emerging technologies on new vehicles and maybe retrofitting older vehicles so that we can safely, you know, ride our bikes down the street when the garbage trucks come through? Because you've got a lot of garbage trucks coming because you have to collect the FOGO, like you said, more than before, and you're trying to optimise that. So that's that sort of reflection on the vehicle side, and so the experience for residents is positive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And in regard to that with the vehicles, like you said, the cameras are everywhere. And I was quite surprised when I did my drive along, just how much they can see. They can see everything, what goes into the bin, down both sides of the truck, the back of the truck, the front of the truck. In terms of the working in the streets, in terms of narrow streets and the wider streets, the narrow streets are very challenging. And one of the things I'm looking forward to setting up on the 29th is a little bit of a mock setup, so people who come can see that, in some cases you're talking inches on either side, which is quite challenging for the drivers, but they pride themselves on their ability to make it through if they can, and if they can't, they don't. And to my comment earlier about the cost and the customer service, what I realised when I went for the drive with one of the drivers is they will loop back later in the day if they couldn't get down a street because the cars were blocking it. I mean, that's amazing customer service and it's fantastic for everybody. It's not normally a private sector practice. That would just be something they couldn't access. But that obviously comes at a cost.
Yes.
And what I would like to do is be able to share those types of things with a value so that you know what you're getting in terms of your customer service, but also we can speak to what that costs. So when we talk about costs, you can see that. And the other classic is the missed bins. We always go out and pick up a missed bin if someone rings up and says, even though we may have video footage that they didn't put the bin out. And we have video footage of every bin that does or doesn't go out. Again, customer service, which is fantastic, but inefficient, and it has a cost. So I think, to answer your question, there's the cameras. There are some technology elements on the vehicles in terms of they shouldn't be able to move if the driver's not sitting in the seat. I understand there was an incident where one did move, and we're working with the manufacturer to understand what happened in that scenario. We're also looking at things from a safety perspective in terms of the manufacturer load limits and automatic cut-off. So once we reach a certain load, they can't load anymore. So we've implemented that, made some progress on that in the last couple of weeks. In terms of other devices, I'm not sure if you're talking about maybe, with the cars where it detects and starts to automatically slow down. I'm not aware of that, so I would have to look into that and come back to you, I'm afraid.
Thank you.
Just on that, it's unfortunate to say, but we do track at an industry-wide the extent to which people are hit and vehicles are hit, and we do extraordinarily well. I don't think you'll see that passenger car technology in trucks. I just don't think that the trucking industry would be able to...
They've retrofitted them in Perth City Council on the garbage trucks.
Yes, I appreciate
following
that.
I
appreciate that. But such a low incidence of risks with the current practice does raise questions about the extent to which there might be some overreach by relying on technology. If there was a serious problem in terms of impacts, absolutely, that's one particular solution. But that's a constant debate in the waste industry as to whether you have trained drivers or whether you have technology. But yeah, it is a constant debate. And
thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you both very much for coming along tonight. I'm over here. And welcome aboard. I've got two issues. I'm very keen to keep up improve our diversion rates. So I'm very interested in the technology that's now coming to the fore about soft plastic recycling and how we can get back on track with doing better with that. And the other thing that's a bit of a worry in the community is the button batteries and safe disposal of them, and what we can do to educate people and perhaps work together to make sure that we don't have those awful fires, because no one wants the risk to the East Waste people also to have to dump the rubbish, you know, because it's on fire. So how are we tracking with both those aspects, please?
Yeah, really good question. In terms of the safety, so you're referring to the incident in the Adelaide Hills with the lithium, well, we thought it was lithium, but it turned out to be hot coals. So when people put lithium batteries into the bins, they will start fires, generally, once they get compressed. I think it's more the larger lithium batteries, not so much the little ones, but you know, the question around battery disposal obviously is one as well. People are getting those battery disposal things on their desks. It's not something we specifically target or offer, but you know, might be something in the future we could look at. But definitely the education around what you can put in is really important. And the fact that we can see, so what will happen is, the hot coals is a great example. We went back through the footage, you can see the bin they came out of, and we can identify that address to the police or to the relevant authorities. I think the real focus, you know, again, I'm 3 weeks in, so there's a bit of learning to do, but I think the education around that is critical. I think if people knew just how well we could identify what they're putting in their bin, that would drive a lot of the positive behaviour. And so as we publicise more the consequence, and in fact, you know, we identified the house where this occurred, it will help to cut down on those incidents as well.
Just in terms of the batteries, there was a big push on e-waste when we transitioned from big televisions to flat screen televisions, and there was a substantial focus on recognising electronic waste as a separate waste stream. That's diminished. I think it's fair to say that's diminished. I think you've hit upon a topic that will reinvigorate that particular debate, and it can only be education, because at the end of the day, people choose what to put in their bins based sometimes on ignorance, sometimes on carelessness, but it can only be education. But I suspect that will be a statewide initiative, because the issue is common. In terms of soft plastics, that is a constant issue in terms of the market for soft plastics. The MRFs are the best place to speak to in terms of how that works, because it's all market driven as to whether or not there's a market or not. But yes, we did have a giant false start with that particular initiative, didn't we?
Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for coming, gentlemen. I live in Eastwood, and in Elizabeth Street, Eastwood, recently we were completely missed one day for green waste, but thank you very much. Prompt phone call, rubbish was collected for the whole one side of the street. And my second praise to the drivers is the guys who use the smaller truck in John Street, Eastwood, and other Main Street. Thank you very much. And the original agreement with East Waste we had was for a smaller truck, and it has been happening regularly. And for that, I thank you, and so do the people who have had cars scratched in the past, because the streets are very narrow. And not only that, they have a runner who actually empties the bin as well. So I stopped when I was walking one day with the dog and said, thank you very much. This is really important for all the residents in the inner suburban streets in our city. So thank you.
Oh, brilliant, thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you for coming. What would you think would be an open and transparent way of appointing an independent audit committee member?
An independent, you mean into our existing? An open and transparent.
Would you interview multiple candidates, for example?
Generally, the process, as I understand at the moment, is we basically do some screening of applications. Then we do a shortlist based on skill sets that seem applicable. Then once we get down to a shortlist, we, in this case, made contact with the top 2. I met with one, I'm meeting with another one tomorrow, and just to make sure that the person marries up with the resume. And then the intention is that that recommendation goes through to the board. So, happy for your feedback on how you view that process,
So you're
but I think it's a good process.
appointing a new person, are you?
There's currently a vacancy,
So
yes.
you're actually interviewing people, unlike the previous time?
Well, I just felt if I'm going to put a recommendation forward, I would like to meet the person and speak with them, was my view. I can't speak to the past. Apologies.
And do you think appointing a former board member, can that person be independent?
I'm not sure.
Well, Linda Green from Adelaide Hills was asked to join the Audit and Risk Committee on the basis we lacked any waste continuity expertise at audit and risk at that particular time. So if that's the example you're referring to, there was a rationale behind that.
It is, but it's not transparent, is it? Or open?
It was transparent and open to the board of East Waste. Whether it was transparent or open to this forum, I said it didn't come to this forum, but it certainly went to the board. The board made the decision as to who they would appoint.
The board decided to appoint a former board member who they'd worked with to the Independent Audit Committee, interviewing nobody else. Do you think that's open and transparent?
I was satisfied with it.
How about you, Leo?
I don't think it would be right for me to comment on something I wasn't familiar with.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you for your presentation. My question is, does East Waste have any liaison with charities for the recycling of hard rubbish, like, you know, decent furniture and things like that?
Very good question. I'm not familiar. Apologies, but I can find out.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that one, please.
I mean, we do have relationships with some charities, such as Oz Harvest, but I'm not familiar with our full scope at the moment.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, both of you, Mr Bell and Mr Leyland.
Thank you,
I was
ma'am.
thinking Leyland Vehicles.
Yeah, yes, it's the same.
So thank you very much, and we hope to continue this good relationship with you in the future. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And you can leave the mic on, that's fine. Thank you. Now we have one deputation this evening, and that deputation is from Mr Frank Banks. If you'd like to come forward, Mr Banks. And just state your name again and the suburb you live in. Thank you. And then, of course, your 5 minutes will start when you start speaking.
Yep. My name is Frank Banks. I live in Erindale. I've addressed this council a few times before. Over the weekend, I read the 138 pages to do with your open space plan. Absolutely brilliant. And I've read a few. So please pass on my thoughts to the staff and the consultants. And look, please send it out as is for the public consultation. I think you've already got some indications that the public are going to be really quite interested. Little question. I was very pleased to see mention of the need for an indoor sports facility. That's something I have pursued amongst council some years back. At the time I was being told, no, that's really an Eastern Regional Alliance issue. I'm hoping that, in fact, you're looking at indoor sports facilities for Burnside, in Burnside, or, you know, pretty close to the boundaries, because we have a huge unmet need for indoor sporting facilities. Most notably, in my case, for gymnastics, but also there's enormous demand, as I think you would have read, from basketball and netball. Also very pleased to see mention of land acquisition. When I addressed council last time, I referred to it as the Pembroke solution. Well, now Sturt is a marginal electorate. So I think you're going to find that we're going to get some very different responses from governments and oppositions when we start talking about some land acquisition. So thank you very much. Again, I want to ask that council consider funding a part-time sports officer, and that's something that I've been quietly working away at with the state government. So yeah, I'll probably end up speaking to some of your staff on that soon enough. I think last time I was here, I also suggested we needed something I'd refer to as Sports Burnside, being a peak body for current and hopeful sporting bodies. Yeah, I think you do need some sort of formal, ongoing organisation. So, you know, if that grabs your interest, please talk to me. Last thing is access to school sporting facilities. Yep. Jay Weatherall, I caught up with him recently when he was back in Adelaide. He'd set up a body of eminent people to look at greater access for community groups to school sporting facilities, and it's the paper I've got to look for is called Schools as Sporting Hubs, and Jack Batty's going to do a Freedom of Information request. Probably more annoyingly is on one occasion I addressed council asking that, for instance, the car park in Belliet Reserve that's utilised by Saints girls be conditional on Saints being open to community use of their sporting facilities. That didn't go anywhere. I'm very disappointed. I'll say my gym club, I haven't been formally involved with them for some years, although I still judge. Yeah, they're about to go homeless. Very, very sad. But it's not just the private schools. Glenunga High has 2 gyms. The old one is still available for community use, but their new one is for school use only. And yet, they will fully utilise Webb Oval as if it's their own school grounds. It's not. It's council land. You do have some carrot and stick that you can use with the schools. Probably the biggest problem with schools being open to community use is that extra little bit of admin that it takes to coordinate. And a lot of government schools just do not have the the admin resources to do that. So I think that's something state government will have to come up with some funds for. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Hench.
Good evening. Thank you very much for all that information. Now, the University of Adelaide is an example where they have a volleyball team that use the facilities of a private school of an evening. So I understand that at the university levy for youth, up to the age of 25, youth, which we are, as council trying to help, that's an example I've just come across recently that universities are doing this. So are you connecting as well with universities as well as other private schools and public schools in your efforts? I haven't
specifically looked at
University of Adelaide.
Overall, throughout Adelaide, my greatest concern with the university is the space at McGill that we desperately need for sporting facilities, not housing. As we get more and more high-density housing, we then automatic result of that is we need additional sporting facilities, and you can't have 2- and 3-storey football ovals.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Banks. And we'll, could you just switch the mic off for us, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Right, well, I will now go through the reports and seek anyone who wishes to withdraw it for debate. Otherwise, I'll seek a mover. 11.1, Open Space Plan. Councillor Davey,
Yes,
you wish to withdraw? Review of privately funded code amendment policy. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, you're moving it, seconded by Councillor Turnbull. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Bylaw Review 2025, finalisation report. I seek a mover. Councillor Zing, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Appointment of independent members to the Council Assessment Panel. I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish. Seconded, Councillor Hallett. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Council Assessment Panel review of a decision of assessment management procedure. Seek a mover. Councillor Hallett. Seconded, Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. On-street parking policy review. Councillor Davey. You wish to withdraw it?
No.
Youth Action Plan. I seek a mover. Councillor Zing. Seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Chief Executive Officer's report. Seek a mover. Councillor Davey.
I want to pull it if I could.
Withdraw
please.
it. Mayor's activity report. Seek a mover. Councillor Henschke. You're moving it. Seconded by Councillor Turnbull. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, we shall now move back to 11.1, Open Space Plan, and that was withdrawn by Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an alternate motion or an addition to this motion recommendation, which has come through. Thank you very much. It's as read, it's in line with the officer's recommendation, and there's also an additional part 2, which includes the following commitment in the introduction to the open space plan on page 6, that the council and the community place a high value on the City of Burnside parks and reserves, recognising them as community land and essential to the city's identity and quality of life. With well over 100 spaces covering approximately 330 hectares, these open spaces serve a wide range of purposes, from active recreation and organised sport to passive enjoyment, interaction with nature and environmental conservation. The city's leafy character, defined by its tree-lined streets and green vistas, reflects a deep, long-standing commitment by the City of Burnside to sustainability and natural beauty. Burnside's open spaces are not only recreational hubs, but also vital habitats for wildlife areas, for community gathering and sources of tranquility and inspiration. This is a huge document, a very significant strategic document, which is designed to provide a framework to determine the appropriate use and distribution of our open spaces. And as I've outlined and we've all read, this is for their environmental and biodiversity protection, community access and activities, recreation, sport, and hopefully down the tracks, the acquisition of more open space, which is a big challenge, but one we need to aim for. Our open space is the last vestige of land which has not been developed for living, for housing or business purposes in Burnside. However, it's also highly valued for its environmental benefits and essential for the health and welfare of our humans, as well as our biodiversity and wildlife. And that's why, with representation from, once this was released a few days ago, quite a few of my community members have contacted me to ask about the emphasis of the open space plan and how we're managing the environmental issues with the all the other expectations that we've got, which we've just outlined some of, and which are developed in full in the document. So with the staff's help, we compiled this extra paragraph just to put right up front in the introduction that that's what we recognise, and then we've got the pages and pages and series of issues that we need to consider for management and use of our open space throughout the years, and then all the action plans that flow on from those. So hopefully you'll support this addition to the plan, and we can then release it for community consultation and get the feedback from our community. Thank you.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Wilkins, do you wish to speak now?
I'll reserve my right.
Anyone who wishes to speak? Councillor Hensch.
A question through you to the administration, Mayor. My question is, this paragraph, when I've read it a couple of times now for the first time, to me, my question is, I don't see a reflection of cultural value, which was a theme, strong theme in the open space plan. Cultural value was a statement I read many times, and to me cultural values are quite a broad, good statement to have and to maintain. So I'm just, my question, I'm speaking and at the same time, I don't mind speaking to it now, but I'm feeling this is quite a colonial view, if you like, of how we treat our open spaces, and I rather like the way that the consultants explained or set the tone of our open space layer as being talking about cultural value, which is really important, I think, in our contemporary context. And so if the administration would like to reflect on that, I think it would be really helpful. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, the entire open space plan as presented, including the background papers and the actions, is what we are consulting with the community on. And you are correct, there is even maps highlighted within the actual layout of the city reflecting our cultural areas, so very, very important. This was just a capture at the very start of the whole document to lead into it, and the vast majority of that wording was already in the draft plan. Following some feedback from council members, we just added approximately 6 words to that, so it's still reasonably consistent with what was in the plan.
Right.
We've just extended it a little bit further. We can add a little bit more, but it's how far do you capture the overall intent of it. I think the areas for community gathering probably captures that in essence, but if we get a strong feedback through the consultation, we'll certainly take that on board for the final report that we present to council.
Thank you.
Councillor Daw.
It's a question and I'm lost, because what Councillor Davies added at 2A does appear in the plan, so you've got to help me here. It includes the following commitment, but if it's in the plan, does that mean it's not a commitment? I'm just trying to understand the addition to the motion, because the words are exactly the same, I think, unless...
I've been reading.
A few words are different.
Through the Mayor, we responded to some questions earlier today, and we reflected on some of the points being made with the importance of community classification of a community land. So we've added essentially 6 words just to strengthen that paragraph.
Can you explain what those 6 words
Yeah, of
are?
course.
Can you play those 6 words?
Of course. 6 words are... So in the 4th line down, is that correct? Interaction with nature has been added.
And first and second line where it says recognising them as community land.
And then the first and second line towards the end, it's recognising them as community land.
Councillor Jones.
Colleagues, if one of my residents asked me, Harvey, I don't have time to read the 53 priority actions in this plan, distill down to me what you're actually going to do as part of this plan. I'd scratch my head for a bit, and then I'd say, we're going to take some open space and we're going to build a gym on it. And my interlocutor would give me a strange look and say, I'm not sure you guys should be in charge of open space in Burnside. Because this isn't an open space plan, it's a sport plan. And there's nothing wrong with having a sport plan, but we asked for an open space plan. And this isn't it, because it's coming from a fundamental background that every square inch of open space in Burnside should be given over to organised sport. And when you look at the percentages of people involved in organised sport, it's very small percentages. It's like 5 to 10% of people. And 90% of people want open space to walk their dog in, to walk in a park, to enjoy nature. And it seems that those 90% of people are rather ignored in this plan, and the few people who want to chase a pig bladder around a park are prioritised to the disadvantage of the rest of us. So, look, I don't think this does what it's supposed to do. I think the other problem is it doesn't really talk about private open space and how that interacts with public open space. And I think you have a case of surprise, one hand of the government not knowing what the other hand is doing. And I refer, of course, to the planning department. Because you have one hand of council saying, oh, open space is great, we should get more of it. And then we have the planning department saying, open space is terrible if it's privately owned, we should subdivide every block, we should allow concreting over vast areas of blocks. And I'm speaking from the most recent council assessment panel, where we had, frankly, terrible recommendations from the council planning department to allow subdivisions of blocks 50% lower than the minimum block size.
Councillor, could you be careful about how you make accusations about our staff, please?
I'm not making accusations about the staff. I'm saying what was presented at the council assessment panel and that the council staff made recommendations about. That's a fact. If anybody wants to dispute it, I'll show you the papers. We had blocks where minimum coverage of 25% was not adhered to, 17% was recommended as being okay. That is open season on private open space, and we can't on one hand say we want this public open space preserved, and logically as a council say, but we don't care about private open space. So look, and I'm happy to show you in the minutes and the agenda where that's said. So please don't tell me that I'm making attacks on people. All I'm doing is stating facts. So look, colleagues, I would urge you to oppose this plan because it's not what we asked for.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Hallett.
I must have read a different document than Councillor Jones, because actually all the points he raised I think are addressed in the plan. So the only thing I could think is that that somehow or other he's come to a completely different conclusion. I don't actually think that we need to have point 2 added to the current recommendation, because I think that we're going to start, it doesn't need to be in there, because if we eventually accept this plan, it's part of the open space plan anyway. it's almost word for what's already in it, in the document. And I think I agree with Councillor Henschke that I think that cultural recognition of some locations is very important. But then we could go on, and I could add things that I think are also important. So I think it just gets down to the plan does talk about the whole range of functions and the type and the size of open space locations. And I think that it's a really thorough and substantial launching pad for us. And I think it does cover where we have got gaps, and it addresses the planning issues that you raise. It actually talks about how it fits within the planning in regard to the statewide regional plan, and looks at those areas that are going to have increased housing, and looks at, well, have we got enough open space for the future? And in some of those locations, the answer's no. And I just think it's an outstanding document and well put together and well considered, and it covers everything. And it's very clear that the importance of passive recreation and the natural beauty of the parks to our community. I don't think it needs to be spelt out.
Councillor Turnbull.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I think it's a fabulous report too. It has Aaron Schroeder's hallmark stamp on it. I've got used to it now. You know, well set out, easy to read, coloured pictures, graphs, accurate figures and facts, and meticulous attention to detail, and the superlatives roll on. But I do have some questions. Could I please ask, it says on page 73, the greatest opportunity for delivering new indoor facilities lies in collaboration or partnership with the state government or private entities. Has Council discussed with St Peter's Girls' School as to leasing or sharing their new sports centre when it's finished?
Good question.
Through the Mayor, we've actually, through the recent advocacy meetings that we're having with the CEO, myself, and some of the key staff, we've started those conversations at a ministerial level and a senior staff level at the departments. And yes, we will reach out to schools to see what the opportunities are. That's a key area in your advocacy plan that you adopted. So we will, not just St Peter's, we'll be looking at all the schools in the area, and we'll be looking to see how we can do that. And that's a key action through this entire document.
That was my next question. Will it be other schools in the COB, not just private schools, but state schools?
That's correct. We already do have an agreement with Cloranga. I think the Deputy talked about it earlier on for use of the old gym. There's still a memorandum of understanding for that one. But that's something that we will look to increase. Right. There's no way that we can achieve all of this through Burnside land alone. So we need to look at private opportunities as well.
May I ask another one?
Sorry, Councillor Dimmitt, may I add to the response? So we have a meeting with Minister for Education, Blair Boyer, in the next couple of weeks, and it's specifically addressing our advocacy plan and the specifics around accessing school facilities and openness. The challenge is that governing councils and principals have quite an influence over access, so we'll be looking to see how we can do that. I think we also need to actually go to the Office of Rec and Sport. We have written to the Minister for Sport, but I think if we go to the Office of Rec and Sport executives as well.
Councillor Turnbull, I will ask Councillor Dawes, who's been waiting. You have asked two questions. I'll come back for a third one.
Yes.
All right, okay then.
Right, thank you. Has Council engaged in discussion with Boral to buy or lease some of their appropriate land and unused buildings? Quarry, Boral Quarry. Up there.
Through the Mayor, not yet. That's certainly something we can look at. It's a new thought to me, so I'm happy to take that one offline and we can have a conversation about that.
Thank you. Am I allowed one more?
Go on.
Are there any areas of land which can be diverted for other use? For example, Kensington Gardens Bowling Club rarely uses two of their bowling greens, the two with the real grass, and plus some playgrounds which are not utilised very much. Can they be diverted to other uses for sport, etc. Open space and sport.
Through the Mayor, I won't use any specific examples. I think that's maybe a little bit too early to decide. But yes, no, a key action in this is to look at opportunities for developing either underutilised facilities, whether that be buildings, car parks, tennis courts, which we've talked about, to opportunities for increasing our open space throughout the city. So that's a key action identified within it.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Dawes.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're talking about the old winery building in the Stonyfield Quarry,
yeah.
very close to the
Bourne.
to the entrance. I just want to respond to Councillor Jones. You know, I was on CAP. I do understand his frustrations, mainly from the developers and what they're putting forward. However, this is not about developers. This is about our own plan. It is very high level, it's very strategic, it's very Aaron Schroeder, as we know. And the good part is that we are going out to community consultations. So if, as Councillor Jones says, they won't know what we're talking about, well, we'll get those responses back, won't we? And we'll be able to hear from them. And this council, this city, does respond well to our plans, I have to say that. The other thing I liked was the drilling down of this plan to not only our wards, but our suburbs. So where there are gaps, they've been highlighted. You know, I've never seen a document like that going to that extreme. So I'm very, very pleased. I am supportive. Thank you.
If there's no one else to speak, Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm also going to speak very highly of this document. I glanced at it yesterday and thought, wow, I'll have to come back to this, and then spent hours going through it, and it is just fabulous. We've ticked all of the boxes that should be ticked. The amount of population growth we're going to see between now and 2050 is almost terrifying, because we're going to have to find somewhere for everybody to live and for them to have open space. And in Burnside, people just think green parks, leafy trees, and we have to get this to gel nicely. So well done, team. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to support the inclusion of this paragraph from page 50 in the introduction in the actual motion, because it highlights the importance that we have on our valuable open space in our community. And that's what everybody treasures and looks for when they come to buy and live in Burnside. I think the report is very detailed, explicit, and I know that having just been to Glenunga High with their fabulous new gym, I'm thinking, well, here's a basketball stadium if ever there was one. And so the more we can actually utilise and work with schools to use their facilities when they're not using them would be great, until such time as perhaps there's open space that could be used for a gym in the Glenside area of Conningham Street. Who knows? In the future. The other point I want to raise, in the open space community engagement phase 2, I know that note that it's going to start in early September. Can I just make sure that you write to every president and secretary of any of the clubs in our particular locale and people who use the space, and tell them what we're doing and ask for their input. Don't just rely on them to go online, actually approach them and ask them for their input. I think that would be so important. And also for the workshop, I note there's a workshop invitation. All clubs and groups are invited via email, etc. and follow-up phone calls. Get on the phone and ask them to come and hear what they have to say. I think that is the least we can do for all the people who use our spaces and our clubs in this particular council. So thank you very much for all the hard work. I know you've put in heaps of hours, so thank you to both of you. I urge you to support the motion.
Before I hand over to Councillor Davey, I just want to add my congratulations. I think it's an incredible strategic document that will present a vision for the future that includes the data about what's happening now in Burnside, although we're going to get more feedback from that, but also we're looking at how we can use this plan for not just us, but future councils as we make decisions, or as they make decisions for the future of this city. And I think in my 15 years of council, this is one of the best documents I've ever been tabled. So I want to congratulate everyone involved in the production of it. It is outstanding. Now, Councillor Davey.
Thank you all for your contributions. Absolutely an incredible amount of work has gone into working with the consultants to develop this strategy, and for our staff, and Aaron and co, you have done a fabulous job to get it to this stage. I have to agree, Councillor Jones is right, that we also have to consider strategically the private green space that we're losing rapidly, as has been mentioned, with all of the densification that's going on in our housing, with our beautiful big homes and villas being sold off and broken up and developed. And even with our high-rise, which is starting to impact too. So we're losing, and this is significantly impacting our environment. I mean, we know the state government wants us to be greener, wilder and cooler. We know there's all the implications from urban warming, and we've got so many issues to balance and consider. I think this plan does give us great scope for managing our open space into the future. But our community is very keen to see how we maintain and utilise as fairly and equitably as possible our limited open space. So our feedback from our community will be very interesting in terms of their views and how we can manage them, because it's the fairness and equitable use that's so critical, both from the formal recreational side to the environmental and biodiversity side. And certainly we need to turn our minds to acquisition of more open space, how we can top up our reserves in this way. We've got an open space fund. I think it's not really doing that well. It just gets topped up from time to time, but we need to probably turn our minds to how we can really build that up. But just adding this additional paragraph is there to reassure, from the feedback I've already got, to reassure our community that we really recognise this, the love of the environment. I think they know that we have lots of challenges for the usage, as I've said, and the balance, the cultural issues that are involved, as has been mentioned. So there's just so many demands and needs for it. So that's why we need a document like this. The investment's been made. I think hopefully you'll support this so we can get it out to community consultation and get on to the next stage and see where we go from there. Hopefully you'll support this. Thank you.
All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Now, thank you very much. We now move to item 11.6, which is on page 356, the on-street parking policy review, and that was to be led by Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move in accordance with the recommendation from the staff.
Am I surprised?
I just thank you very much for all the work that's been done. This is another huge area of huge challenge for council. How do we equitably park on our roads and streets, and how many car parks do we allocate in competition with development and trees and things like that? So I won't go into that, but I only really have a question, and that is in terms of on page 357, paragraph 3, what is a good neighbour parking campaign, and how can we be involved in that, and what will this cost us, please? Because we're all pretty close to our communities in terms of parking. We're the first place they come to often, and it'd be very useful to know how we can help and promote this. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, absolutely right, Councillor Davey. I think everyone in their wards will be approached by community members with either traffic rat runs through the streets or narrow streeting, parking, trailers, caravans, all those types of things. There are many factors that go into the challenging, which is increasing in population, houses going from maybe being a family with 2 cars to 4 cars, a whole raft of issues and planning issues as well. So a good neighbourhood parking campaign is an idea that we're working on. We're looking at in conjunction with our traffic management plans, and it really is just about a campaign around courtesy and etiquette in our streets. And we haven't pulled it all together yet and finalised, and it hasn't come back out to council members for their thoughts or feedback. But it is one of the things that I think it's important just to remind people, if they can park in their driveways, to please park in their driveways. If they are going to park on a street, how you park on a street near people's driveways. And it would also be applicable to businesses as well. So we're yet to finalise it. The traffic team under Barry is doing some work to get some data, but this is just another thing that I think we can do, which should be low cost, and it's about really just asking our community to think about others when they're parking in our streets.
Councillor Cornyn.
Thank you, Worship. Happy to second the motion, number 1. Number 2, I support all the changes that you guys have proposed. I certainly, as you know, in my area, we've certainly had an issue with a lot of cars on streets and potentially those that are not registered. So I'm glad that we're actually tightening up some of those rules about cars being registered and stuff like that with permits. So I'm quite happy about that. And obviously those that have a permit still actually have to abide by the rules and can still actually get a ticket if they're parking inappropriately on the street. Just because you've got a permit doesn't mean that you own the road and can disobey the road rules. So I'm glad that we're making that very clear too. So thank you for your work on this.
Councillor Will.
Thank you very much. I want to speak in favour of this motion, simply because in Cedar Woods' case, in Glenside, one parking permit, transferable parking permit, should be available for each resident, because then they will, not more than one, but if they have another transferable, then when that expires, there won't be another one issued. That's great. But one for each resident in there will go some way to alleviating residents' anxiety about parking, because it is actually chock-a-block in there when you drive through in the mornings. I personally have a parking permit in Eastwood. We all manage the parking except when, and if I have visitors staying, then I actually have a second transferable parking permit, which they put in their car, fine, until such time as visitors go, then they don't get a parking ticket. So it's manageable, and also I can't wait for the traffic management plan to be happening in Eastwood. On its way, I'm assured, so that we can actually do something about the speeding traffic through. I haven't heard of any more side mirrors being knocked off, cars being scratched. So, yes, I do support this, and particularly in the Glenside Health Precinct in relation to Cedar Woods, one transferable parking permit per resident. Thank you very much, guys.
Councillor Hallett.
Yes, on page 358.14, and I think this follows on from what the CEO was talking about in regard to street parking courtesy guidelines. It seems to me that there's the problem that I've had from it in McGill area and Kensington Gardens, and I'm talking about the area of Kensington Gardens that's between the parade and McGill Road, is that, which has got higher densities, and as the houses are being sold there, it's got much more density housing going in, and there's a premium on street parking, and some people are actually parking a car in the street and leaving it there, and they don't use it. And it's there's a couple of different cases I've had where residents contact me. One person is running a painting business, and so he's got it parked there and just left there, and he's got all his paint stored in it. There's nothing actually that we can do about that, because according to the state rules now, it's not considered as abandoned, because he hasn't abandoned it, he's just left it there. And then there's the problem of around our area in regard to people using the streets for parking, and near the nursing home that becomes a problem because there's staff parking in the streets and cars can't get up and down, and then they're also got the people in there with their reverse parking practice, their learner drivers schools. So I think that the idea, I was pleased to hear about that, the idea of a courtesy guidelines to promote, because while we might not be able to actually fix all the problems, we could do some sort of a campaign around educating people about how to be a good neighbour in sharing the streets as they become more congested. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Can I ask a question, please? Are we singling out Glenside because there's already not enough parking? Or is it because we anticipate that the developer is going to put so many dwellings in that there will be a lack of parking who will want to spill onto the existing streets?
Probably right. Through the Mayor, it's a bit of both. We're already seeing signs of congestion, but it's our anticipation that when the development is fully finished, street parking will be an absolute premium. And if we look at other, I guess, similar developments such as Bowden and Brompton, it's my understanding they have 24-hour parking restrictions because there's that much chaos down there in terms of competition for parks. So we're, in that sense, trying to get ahead of something, get ahead of what we anticipate to be an issue in the future, not too distant future.
Sorry, to follow up from that then, why should we penalise existing residents in favour of the developer being able to get away with not putting enough car parks in their future buildings? Surely we should take a stand and say you need to build enough car parks in your skyscraper, or those people won't be able to park anywhere.
Enough car parks for every
Why are we facilitating their rape of Burnside?
Maybe I can, through the Mayor, we've through our submission and through our consistent advocacy work, which is still in our advocacy plan. We've raised traffic issues and parking as a key concern. I think this is basically being proactive because there is little control or influence that we are now able to have over the amount of car parking that we could make the development undertake. And if the state government has approved that, then we will have it to deal with the traffic problems, and we're already experiencing them now. So this is just being proactive and being ready for what is about to come. I'm not sure if there's anything further to add.
Yeah, if I could also add that current residents will not be penalised as much as possible by the grandfathering of the existing permit schemes. So they will run out before, they won't be cancelled straight away, it'll be when they're renewed. So paragraphs 5 and 6 of the report clearly demonstrate that there's going to be some significant pressure on that permit scheme, and in all justification we cannot charge for permits that really are going to be useless going ahead, because there just won't be enough places to park. Thank you.
Councillor Jen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So when I got elected to council, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to fix my community, but I spend a lot of time with my emails about car parking. And I thank the team for helping the good people of Holton Street who had a resident permit on a car that was just abandoned, that they didn't have room for on their property, and it just sat there, and it just sat there. And then we got lucky when the rego ran out, and within 72 hours that car was moved. So I thank the team. This is an excellent document and I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. This is a quick answer question. How long can caravans and boats be left parked on the street?
Through the Mayor, it depends on their size. So if they're not oversized, i.e. less than 7.5 metres in length, then they have the same rules as a car, so indefinitely.
Okay. Thank you.
It's only when a vehicle is oversized in terms of weight or length that they have a 1 hour limit. But
oh, right. Thanks. Yep.
like a large truck can only park for 1 hour, but a boat or caravan that's not oversized is treated as a car, as a vehicle.
Councillor Wilkins.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I read this report with a view, with my lens. It's all about Glenside and Cedar Woods and parking in Glenside. Am I right? Or is it council-wide?
Through the Mayor, no, it's largely about that one, it's the former health precinct.
Yes, that's how I read it.
And that was the reason for the change in the first place.
Exactly. One transferable permit per resident, and when their second one runs out, there's no more. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right. At the next changeover,
yes.
Residents would only be eligible for one rather than two if they had two.
Thank you, Magnus. My other question is the staff going to check the current parking signs that are in Cedar Woods precinct so that they reflect the time that people can park, etc., etc.? What is required? Are you going to let them know?
Well, through the chair, some streets are subject to restrictive parking restrictions and others are not.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that these restrictions have been rolled out at the request of residents, which is why some streets have them and some don't.
Yeah.
So where there are existing restrictions, they'll remain.
Yep.
And it's our expectation, or not expectation, but anticipation that as time rolls forward, more and more controls will be sought and implemented.
And they'll be signed accordingly.
At the relevant time.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a question? I'm of the understanding, I've been told by residents that if they when they purchase a unit, they can purchase 1 or 2 car parks within the building. Now, that's what I've been told. Now, a number of people have said we only could afford to buy one, and then the other one's got to be on the street. So the one that's on the street is the one that generally we're talking about. Is that correct? So could this have any impact on potential purchases in the new 20-storey building to encourage them to, A, the Cedar Woods to provide more underground parking, and B, getting residents to be persuaded into purchasing another car parking space or having an impact? So I'm just curious.
Through you, it's a complex question. Yeah. I'm not sure the policy will have much of an influence on the development in terms of Cedar Wood itself, but the reason for getting, as the CEO said, getting ahead of time and being proactive is at least is in place in good time for people to be able to, if they do the research, understand what they can do and what they can't do. And in some cases it may result in people making different purchasing decisions.
That was the purpose of my question, so thank you. Councillor Jones, you have another question, or
no,
you wish
I'm
to
going
speak?
to speak. Look, I appreciate that you're trying to be proactive, but I feel it's rewarding bad behaviour from the developer, and that we should say, no, we're going to preference existing residents who paid to be in this development, having been told that there would not be buildings over 8 stories high. And developer, if you do this, be aware that the people lying on floors 9 to 20 are going to have nowhere to park. So I do think we should say, no, we're not going to facilitate you, and build enough car parks. Which I have to say, at the presentation that they gave us with the planning consultants, they said they were going to build enough car parks for everyone in the blocks, in which case those people won't need to park on the street. So let's call their bluff and leave the policy as it is.
I'll go back to you, Councillor Davey. Right, Councillor Davey is happy for me to put the motion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. The next is also Councillor Davey, Chief Executive Report, page 436.
Thank you, Mayor. I move in accordance with the recommendation on page 436. I just had a couple of questions, please, if I may. Go ahead. Yep. Oh, sorry. One of my major question relates to BRSI and the report on page 441. Sorry, page 444. I'm a bit confused still about, I thought we actually asked for the chair of Burnside Retirement Services of the board to come and meet with us, and I understand he was on leave, and there was a substitute was going to come, and then we haven't seen anybody. Our motion was that they actually came and addressed council, and I think that's part of our policy now, that all of these subsidiaries all come and meet with council. I think at least once a year is fine. Some need twice a year. But it keeps getting delayed, and I just wonder what's going on and why they haven't shown up. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, so the resolution was, as I understand it, as I've read it, is that the rules were going back to the BRSI board for them to review in July, and then they were going to seek legal advice in August, and then come back to the council. In my view, having done that, the timing would be much better for them to come and present to the council when all that is done. So then we would have the rules and charter and all those things underway, and that would be perfect timing for them to actually be here and to answer questions once that process has been completed. They were scheduled to come this evening. Because some of that work hasn't yet been completed, and because East Waste, we had the new General Manager, Leo Leyland, who was keen to come with Fraser Bell for this meeting, then it was appropriate, I thought, that we would have BRSI come in September. So there's no let's see, opposition or resistance to come. It is a case of some of the timing. So you're right, with the chair being away, and then they had change in their personnel, and they've appointed a new, yeah. So they've appointed a new manager, and so I think the timing would actually suit us better for September.
You said you had another question, Councillor Davey? I'm only following because Councillor Davey moved the motion and then she said she had a couple of questions to ask, so I'm just waiting for those, and then I will go to the next person, who's Councillor Cornish.
I'm happy to second the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Davey? Right, well, no, I'll go to Councillor Cornish because he's seconding the motion.
I'll reserve to speak.
Okay,
thank
you.
Nothing to say.
Nothing to say at the moment. Now, Councillor Jones, if you wish to speak.
Yes, please. So I've got a question on BRSI as well, and this concerns Councillor Wilkins' motion. So the motion passed was that council would review the BRSI rules. So when is council going to review the rules?
Through the Mayor, the Council reviewed the rules, as I understand it, earlier on this year. I think it was April time. And those comments were provided along with the administration's feedback to BRSI to consider, and that's what they've been doing since. So we are at the end of the process. Their comments will be reported back to us in September. So we're waiting for them to come back in terms of the responses to what we've asked to be amended.
Right. And why are they paying for a lawyer, or are we paying for a lawyer?
Through the Mayor, we're not paying for the lawyer. This is the board undertaking their own due diligence, and they have asked their lawyer at their cost to consider their responses before it comes back to council.
Can I just add to that, when I was on the board, whenever, and we did it a number of times, reviewed the governance rules, the constitution, we always employed a lawyer as a board, always employed a lawyer to make sure, unless we had a lawyer on the board. Well, we did, I know, I said unless we had a lawyer on the board, and for a few years we did have a lawyer on the board, and though that legal firm did look at it, but they also referred it to another lawyer if there was any dispute or any concern or any argument. So it is the normal practice, it has been the normal practice for the board to actually employ a lawyer to examine the constitution to make sure that it is up to date, it's an appropriate. Before it then was before it came to council, because it always came to council every time there was a change in the constitution. It was approved by the board, it then came to the council for formal acceptance, and then it went back to the board again. So that's always been the usual practice.
I don't understand, because the rules are set by council. So why isn't council?
No, the board set the rules. The board set the rules.
The council sets the rules.
Okay, you do it.
Through the Mayor, the steps involved with the review process are as follows. This was sent before two council members. That there was a council resolution to commence the review of BRSI rules, which included the provisions that Councillor Wilkins suggested. So we notified the BRSI board of the council resolution. The council administration then took what was resolved by council and made amendments to the charter first. That was then provided to the BRSI board. with revised draft BRSI rules, so we had to track changes, and the resolution did say that we had to consult with the board on it. After that, once we get that, and once we get the draft back with the feedback from the board, that will then be part of an action document that will go to council members. So that'll be there for the council members' feedback to see the changes that are in there and see what's been suggested by the board as part of the consultation process. Finally, once we get the council members' feedback on that, we, out of our due diligence, should do a legal review on that too. And then finally, that will go to council consideration. So council will then ultimately resolve that. So hopefully that assists.
Councillor Henschke.
Oh, thank you. I have a question on another topic through the Mayor. In the CEO report, there's the helpful area of what reports will be scheduled for the next council meeting. One of those reports is status of master plans, and that's on page 446. So it's listed as coming to council in September, a report called Status of Master Plans. My question is, just to clarify, is the status of master plans include the state government's local infill investigations that were spelt out in the open space layer plan? There's a local infill investment area type report. Is that going to be included in this master plan report? Will we get an update, in other words, from the state government about where they're tracking on local infill investment areas? Because I know in the Toorak Gardens ward there is an area bound by Greenhill Road, Portrush Road to Cudmore Avenue, and several streets identified as where the state wants to increase infill, and they're leading that project. I'd just like to get a sense of how we're going to be reported on that. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, no. To answer the question with respect to will you be getting that as part of that report, that's the quarterly update on all strategic policies and master plans that was requested by council. So that's on all council adopted plans. So that's your specific park master plans, the city master plan itself, and some of the strategic policies and strategies. With respect to that, we are working with the state to understand the implications of that, and we are working with them to understand that in the context of the city master plan itself, already adopted by council. We are preparing an executive briefing paper, which will go to the executive team within the next 4 or 5 weeks, once we've got more information from the state government, and we will then present further information to council members at that. We've actually got a consultant from Future Urban assisting us with that, to assist us through this process and work with the state government, and they will present to council once we've got all of that information and the impacts in each of the suburbs.
Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the BRSI one. I'm confused. When do the council members get the action document about the changes to the Constitution? Is it before next September when we have a presentation by the board leader of the board, or when do we get it?
So through the Mayor, if I may. So one of the things that has been recommended in there is the 6 monthly meetings, and that's being recommended to go into the charter. So as it stands right now, it's on the old charter, so they're not forced to meet with us every 6 months. It will only be after that charter is adopted where they're forced to be able to do so. They may still come as a courtesy, and we can request them to come out anytime. But yes, it'll probably likely, depending on when we get it back from the consultation from BRSI, it could be September or October by the time you get the action document.
With due respect, can they be hurried up?
We can request, we can prompt, yes.
Through the Mayor, we are moving in to try and get, as we evidenced by having the East Waste Chair and General Manager, we are keen to have more information come to the elected member body. We are looking at ways of how we do that, because I think there's also the Audit and Risk Committee also would like to have oversight as well. So the more information we can have with our subsidiaries coming and presenting. I've also spoken with the CEO of the Burnside Memorial Hospital to come as well. So it's so it's important that we keep the information coming, but we're all doing it in a very respectful and professional way. That we're not looking to. We want to get the best out of that relationship, and having a good relationship is the way we do that.
Councillor Jett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just on page 450. I would like to commend administration's response, accelerating SA's transition to a circular economy, South Australia's Waste Strategy 2025-2030. This is an excellent response. I would have loved to have seen the face when they clicked the open button on their computer and saw that. So no, I commend Dr. Philip Roteman for his response, and I hope they take notice. Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I've remembered my second question. And just before we move off Burnside retirement villages, could we amend the status to monitor active council decision required? I think that's not quite accurate. And could we tell them that we've actually got a resolution on the table, and that we expect them to be able to comply with it in a friendly way as possible? Because I think they're thumbing their nose at us, quite frankly. I don't think they're taking seriously our concerns. I think there has been some concern, because the community raised concerns with us as their elected members that they weren't actually being heard in the village. They were being excluded from decision making. So it goes back a fair way. The chair of the board was a bit reluctant to accept that, and we've now got a new general manager, and that's all changed and things are improving, we hear, but there is still a lack of cooperation, I would class it as, from the board, and I think we can expect better from them. They are being very tardy. I also wanted to, just a bit of an update to see if you have any more information on the Burnside Hospital expansion. It might be early days yet, but just to see if there's any update there. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, no further update regarding the Burnside. You've got some further update? I'll pass you on to Barry then.
Apologies, I've not a chance to tell you. Through the Mayor, we have provided consistent information as we provided to Council, I think in the last CEO report, to the ERD, and we've been asked to provide a submission on that. So we provided Council's thoughts with respect to the development, and acknowledging our concerns about, particularly with respect to traffic and the loading zone issues that we are concerned about. We have a meeting with technical staff later this week to talk about some of those concerns, to see if we can work through a collaborative solution to some of those solutions, and then that will be presented to the ERD committee at a time still to be scheduled. Once that's scheduled, the CEO has said that she will be heard by the committee, so we will represent Council's feedback at that stage.
All right, Councillor Davey, you ready to sum up? Put the motion. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? Motion's carried. Now we move to questions on notice. The questions on notice have all been answered, and we will move to motions on notice, which the first one is 13.1. Councillor Dawes. Councillor Harvey, you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. I move that we go into confidence, please.
Councillor I was just asking, do we have to have a justification for you requesting to go into confidence? And we've got one. Okay, thank you. And Councillor Turnbull, you're seconding it.
Yes, I also wish to speak.
We resume. we will resume at 9:37, and I will inform you that item number 13.2 has been withdrawn and it is now dead and buried. 13.3 we move to now, Councillor Davey.
Can I just ask a question about that? Because the trade-off for the withdrawal, abandonment of the special meeting was that it would be on the agenda for this one. So do we consider that in the minutes to be abandoned? How will that be addressed?
How will it be minuted?
Through the Mayor, on the website, you'll note that because this was on the agenda, that the special council meeting has been abandoned as per the wishes of the three that called that meeting. As far as this motion, it's just been withdrawn, so the matter's finished. That's correct.
Should I go ahead? The reason for this is pretty self-explanatory, I think. I did have a photo, but I couldn't send it through, so I'm sorry. I think you've probably all driven past on Greenhill Road and Glenburn Road, the Feathers Roundabout. And the reason for this is that I wish to formalise that the CEO right to SA Water to determine and negotiate the following. The reason for the recent extensive works undertaken on the roundabout, which have resulted in destruction of much of the extensive plantings which the community values, to beautify this large traffic device and also to cool the area. When will the works be completed? When the much-loved rose plants and irrigation and the streetscape will be reinstated, with the narrow window of opportunity presented with the onset of spring, and that an outcome be reported to Council by the CEO by end of October 2025. So the reason to formalise this is that it has gone on for a long time. We've had, Mr Cant has given us an update, he's followed up, but I would like to see us actually formalise. It's such a huge, significant piece of infrastructure that thousands and thousands of people drive past each day. They sit in the restaurants all around it and look at it. And my community is constantly asking me questions about it. So we do need to put some pressure on or negotiate with SA Water to find out why they've scheduled the works, why it's taking so long, and to get an outcome, because everybody loved the roses on the roundabout. I mean, it's chockers full of roses. They're tough, hardy, beautiful roses that have survived there for many, many, many years, and suddenly they look terrible. So that's the reason for this motion, so I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
Seek a seconder. Councillor Turnbull, do you wish to speak?
Yes, please. I'd like to thank you, Councillor Davey, for this motion on notice. I too have had queries from residents about the apparent destruction of the iconic rose garden on the roundabout of Greenhill Road and Glenburn Road. And all I could tell them was that SA Water needed to work on the infrastructure under the roundabout. I first emailed Council Administration about this issue on March the 30th, with follow-up emails on May the 12th and July the 4th. The answer to all the emails was the same. We are trying to meet with the SA Water representatives to work out the remediation of this site. As the rose pruning season is just about finished, would it be possible, please, to prune the tangled mess that they have become as soon as possible? And there is still time to plant potted roses. Do we need an advocacy plan? I'm happy to stand in the middle of the unpruned roses with the CEO and advocate for consultation with SA Water. Maybe this could bring positive results. Anyway, I'm asking you to please support the motion. Thank you.
I definitely support the motion. I think it's a ghastly sight at the present time and has been for too long. I'll actually take my secateurs along in a bag of rapid razor and sprinkle it around as well. So many people notice that it is a mess, and it's not what it should be. It is an iconic roundabout, as is the one at Rose Park at the intersection of Alexandra and Prescott. That has not been pruned. There are leaves that are dying off, and that needs some secateurs around the perimeter of that rose planting as well, and a good dose of rapid razor as well before the next rain. So can we just do things appropriately and correctly and quickly is all I ask, because everybody notices them. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to offer a variation to this motion, and I have spoken to the mover, and I do recognise what Rebecca Talbot is trying to do with SA Water and trying to get them to move, but can we just change it to request the CEO write to the CEO of SA Water? Because I want it to be at the higher level again, you know. So if the mover is happy with it, and of course the seconder, then I would like that to occur. But I do understand the frustration of management in trying to get something done.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. So when I'm on my push bike and I'm coming down the hill from a morning pedal and flying down that steep bit of Greenhill Road, you are met with this roundabout that's the greeting, the welcome to Burnside, and you've got this roundabout that's bleh. It could be nicer. It should be nicer. And I think when CEOs correspond with other CEOs, they get stuff done. Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
I'm happy to support the motion. I just wanted to make a couple of comments or questions. Once you go round the roundabout and you go past the group of shops on the left, there's a bus stop. And I've noticed that the buses are now using it as a lay-by. They're actually staying there for long. If you come around that roundabout, you haven't got much room to brake, and you don't have a very good visual. And it just seems to me that why all of a sudden are the buses now having sort of rest overs right by that roundabout? And the other thing is, which is just a bugbear, but as a council, are we able to write to the Transport Minister to talk about the advent of large four-wheel drive vehicles and utes, that they have to use the left-hand lane on a roundabout rather than the outside lane? Because the other day I was there and I counted 11 big four-wheel drives in the outside lane. If you're a sedan in the left-hand lane on that roundabout, you can't see what's coming because they block your view. You have to wait till they go. And I was thinking, why is everyone queuing up in the right-hand lane? Oh, when I got there, I realised everyone's queuing up in the right-hand lane because you can't see in the left-hand lane and you sit there for ages. So, given that we don't seem to be able to stop people's love of big four-wheel drive vehicles, and I was reading something today about even the older people are moving into them.
Councillor Hallett, I think you've kind of got off the tart. I think if you want to consider potentially another motion that relates to that, the solution for me is that intersection should have traffic lights anyway, so that would solve all of our problems. Councillor Henschke is next.
I have a question for the administration, Mayor. Is this operational stuff? It's operational. Oh, so, okay, so I'll now speak to it. Okay, if this is an operational matter, where is the policy we have to make these things happen anyway? I mean, I don't think we should be dealing with operational matters at this detail. And in fact, you know, the wilting roses or whatever on Rose Park, you know, that's going to no one's complained in our ward, you know, about them. And And it's true, you know, they're fine, they're beautiful. I go past them every day. I mean, depending on, you know, what detail you need. But this is operational. We need to stay out of operational matters. This is why we have an administration and a chief executive officer. So directing our CEO to write to another CEO, I think there needs to be a better relationship approach, you know, writing, you know, isn't it just easy to just get on the phone or, you know, administration officers talking to each other? I mean, I'm sure this can all be worked out without a formal letter. That's my view, and yeah, I think we should stick to policy and strategy.
Just to clarify, completely agree with you with respect to operational matters, and if anyone has an operational matter, I urge you to put in a customer request, and I'll certainly go through that process to assist with that. This one is slightly different because it's a state-owned roundabout. It's one of the 4 or 5 state-owned roundabouts in the council district. Historically, Burnside has maintained some, but not all, and I think that will actually be a position that we need to bring to this council at some stage to get a little bit of consistency about how we do that and whether or not we should be maintaining on behalf of the state, but that's for another time. We have been having ongoing discussions with the department with respect to this. As we've said in the CEO commentary, the work's not completed. They're still required to do more work, so I'm hesitant to get in there to do some work when it's likely that there's going to come in and rip up some more until it's finished. There is frustration amongst some of the community members that it's taking a long time. So I think this formally puts it on the agenda. The CEOs can write to them, and the CEO of the relevant department can provide a response to council.
Councillor Jones.
Look, I'd like to thank Councillor Davey for bringing this motion, because I've lived there 25 years. I've never noticed this road garden. Probably because I'm too busy looking out for the cars failing to give way on that bloody roundabout. So look, I agree with the Mayor. What we need to do is approach state government to put traffic lights in, because it's a death trap, and it would be much better with traffic lights, and it would improve the flow of the traffic considerably, because what you have at the moment is the biggest car goes.
How there's not been a major accident at that intersection, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for your input. Just to clarify, my motion is about the roundabout at Burnside. And I've asked that progress with this failed project be clarified so that operationally it's back in action. That's all our community want. I'm asking on behalf of our community, from whom, in the surrounding area, I've had quite a few complaints. And in relation to accident metrics, I don't think the data actually supports. I think we've been through, well, I don't know that in my years on council, there isn't enough crash data to support the fact that this is a very dangerous roundabout. Sure, there's lots of idiots who drive around it, and we've heard about some of the dreadful vehicles that negotiate it. We have buses, we have huge cars, we have, you name it, thousands and thousands and thousands of people go past it and round it and use it every day. Cyclists included, kids on scooters. It actually works. Roundabouts work. If you drive from Brisbane to Noosa, you don't meet a set of traffic lights. You have roundabouts all the way. They're very civilised pieces of infrastructure in my mind, and they're a great opportunity to green and beautify our streetscapes and make such a large area, which is getting warmer and warmer with urban warming, cooler. So the community want it reinstated, and so it would be much appreciated if the CEO, with all her skills, can negotiate it with the state government. Hope you'll support it.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Now, unless there's anyone with urgent business, I am going to close the meeting at 9:51 p.m. and thank you for your company and patience.